Hello and welcome to the National Debate. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, food safety is no joke. But unfortunately in India for many years, perhaps decades, it's been ignored. But not anymore. As an IAS officer, Tukaram Munde has now made people notice what they're actually eating. But this is not about Tukaram Munde alone. What was started by the FDA commissioner in Mumbai has now spread like wildfire across the country, with raid after raid exposing the unhygienic conditions in schools, government canteens, dark stores of quick commerce apps, and even some of the top restaurant chains as well as five-star hotels. Today, there's one question that the entire country is asking. Is the food that we eat really safe? And what will it take before we feel at ease having the food that we often took for granted? That's the focus on this edition of the National Debate. And joining us here in the studio is our panel. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Chairman, Nephron Clinics and Padma Shri Awardee is with us. Dr. Shikha Sharma, Wellness Expert, is with us. Sriram Khanna is a consumer rights activist. With us also is Pradeep Tiwari, who's Manager Operations of Mandarin Trail and People Restaurant. With us also is Amarnath Mishra, Forensic Science Expert, who's of course going to take us into the details of how to identify adulteration. With joining us from outside are also our guests, Abhijit Saha, who's a chef and entrepreneur from Bengaluru. With us also is Arun Annadurai, who's the director of the Accord Highland Ooty. Also with us is Kavita Banta, who's a co-chapter head of Hyderabad NRAI and owner of the Sage Farm Cafe, Hyderabad. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. And let me start first and foremost with Dr. Shikha Sharma. Dr. Shikha Sharma, what has taken us all by surprise is the depth of the violations. You know, we're talking about five-star hotels. We're talking about popular cafe chains, high-end ones at that. We're talking about quick commerce stores. We're talking about fast food chains. Uniformly, across states, across cities, across geographies, it's the same set of violations, whether it's adulteration, whether it's lack of hygiene. You know, it's mind-boggling that this is happening on this scale in this country and no one's paid attention to it.
See, the reason I think which is actually happening is, firstly, fssai has a very small team. It doesn't have the requisite manpower which it really needs. Second thing is that the entire food chain is adulterated, right from where it's being sourced up till the restaurant, finally the consumer. So when the entire food chain gets adulterated, then it is very hard to say that this only person was involved or this company was involved, because the entire food chain is getting adulterated at various points, whether you call it dairy or whether you call it paneer manufacturing. So it's the whole problem today is systemic. And until a major revamp happens in food laws, food safety, and the whole structure of fssai, this thing is not going to stop, because this is not the first time these raids have happened, and this is not the first time. Over and over, if you see that the masalas being exported to Singapore and Hong Kong were banned. And there were people, and these companies were very big companies. So imagine a restaurant ordering a masala from a big brand and then later discovering in news that this has been banned in Hong Kong and Singapore. So the issue is systemic. Infrastructure needs to change, food laws need to change, and manpower needs to change.
Do we need more laws? That's certainly, of course, a very important point. But let me quickly take you through the first set of information that we are going to be discussing. Let's take a look at some of the controversies. This is Paul, Gurugram, live worm that was found in a sandwich there, or a salad is what I was told. But in any case, the kitchens were inspected. Notice was sent to this Paul restaurant, which is an international chain. Food samples were later sent for testing as well. And further action is pending, of course, the reports that come in over here. Another report that had come in also from one of the other restaurants, I think it was Pune if I'm not mistaken. Paul India says that food safety and hygiene is our top priority. That's the clarification coming in from them. The incident is not reflective of our standards, and given that this is an international chain and a well-known cafe chain, of course, certainly it's sparked off a huge amount of commentary on social media. Let's take a look at some of the other restaurants that we're talking about. There's Baba's Kitchen in Ambrosia's as well as KFC storage unit. This is all that happened in Pune. The lapses are unauthorized food colors, insects presence at Baba's Kitchen. Action is that licenses were suspended and food worth 19,90,740 rupees was seized at this particular location. There's also in larger, the Maharashtra example that we have. Fast food restaurants and chains, Pizza Hut, McDonald's, other chain restaurants, very popular ones at that, Domino's, etc., where rodents, cockroach, lizard infestation was found. Expired stock and broken cold chains was elapsed. Action taken. 95 improvement notices, temporary closures, as well as license suspensions in some cases that took place as far as these restaurants are concerned. Expired fruity juice, etc., that was also found in such places. There's also, of course, what has taken place in Delhi. Big five-star chains here, JW Marriott and Andaz Delhi, lapse, expired food, pest infestations, veg, non-veg food was not segregated properly. Action is that notice issued by the FSSAI, and the scrutiny in this case is ongoing as well. In this case, of course, JW Marriott has come out to say that the retail activity was without license. This is a clarification coming in. In Bengaluru as well, 10 elite clubs, the Century Club, KSCA, Racecourse Road Club, Bangalore Club, which is perhaps one of the most popular and biggest clubs over there. Lapses here include expired or improperly stored food, cockroach infestations. We'll quickly bring those visuals as well of what kind of situation these particular restaurants and clubs had. Poor drainage, open drains found in some of them. Action, of course, talking about in terms includes the notices issued, further action pending lab reports that was taken in terms of action as far as these particular restaurants are concerned. Unlabeled fish, veg, non-veg, again, the big storage of it. These are some of the lapses that were noticed and pointed out by the authorities as far as these raids are concerned. Let's also look at some of the other lapses. In Gurugram, also the raid that took place in March 2026, it's the La Foresta Cafe. Lapses here, diners were served dry ice as mouth freshener. Can you believe it? This is actually something that has happened. The action, license was cancelled and the restaurant was sealed in this particular case as well. What has happened in Maharashtra in May of 2026? 3,137 hotels, restaurants, eateries were raided. Lapses found across, unsafe food found across these kitchens and actions, 165 licenses suspended. Other actions also taken. 28.66 lakh kilograms of unsafe food that was seized. Destroyed food was valued at 55.72 crores. Just imagine the volume of food that was found unsafe. Fines totaling 21,500 imposed. Perhaps those fines also need some kind of increase. This is certainly woefully inadequate given the scale of what we are looking at. But this is the kind of timeline and the kind of events that we have in terms of the food safety. There's also, of course, in Pune, where there were other 19 hotels, restaurants and bakeries that were raided. Poor hygiene, stocks of expired food products, 12 licenses suspended over here as well. So these are the kind of situations that we've had. Over 41.38 lakh rupees worth of products that have been seized over here as well. 24 arrests and 14 outlets seized over here as well. There's also, of course, Bengaluru once again. 60 3-star and 5-star hotels. The Vidhan Sabha, this is the state assembly, their canteen itself found in violation. Lalit Ashok, Shangri-La, Hotel Sky, etc. Unhygienic kitchens and storage, expired food, 20 plus liters of expired milk, 77 samples that were sent for lab testing in this particular case as well. Seized quantity rose to 1,000 kilograms. Legal proceedings have been followed in these cases as well. So this is the level really of the kind of violations that we are talking about. And let me bring in Kavita Manta, who's of course co-chapter head of Hyderabad NRAI and owner of the Sage Farm Cafe. Kavita Manta, the scale of the seizures of the violations is absolutely mind-boggling. There's a clear trust issue because people are actually wondering where can they go out and have a safe meal, because one would assume that if you're going to a 5-star restaurant or a high-end cafeteria, you're ordering a sandwich for 500 rupees, forget the taste, etc. and the presentation. You at least assume that you're going to get hygienic food that's not going to get you sick. But that's not the case, is it?
It's true. It's a very concerning situation, and I have to say, and I speak for many of my fellow restaurant owners, that for most of us in the organized sector, these moves are actually very, very welcome. What we need is for this to become a norm rather than the storm that we're seeing right now. High hygiene, good safety levels, training of staff, all these come at a cost to a restaurant. And as an industry, we are competing at every level to save a rupee, and that is where you're seeing a lot of these standards lack in a few cases. What we need is for the government to very clearly, actively work with organizations like ours, give us a very clear list and a black and white list of exactly what should be done and what shouldn't be done. If you look at the rules and the regulations that are given out right now, there are people who were actually discounted on their audit because of the distance of a shelf from a particular wall. Those kind of dubious norms can become very, very challenging to follow. What we need is clear guidelines, black and white, that should be followed. We need to have access available to people who will come audit us, give us a local score, give us steps to improve ourselves, because as many cases as you are indicating, there are the same number of restaurants that are actually out there doing an honest man's job and trying to make sure safe, clean food is provided. And we need to make sure that these people are being guided in the right way and are being led to understand what is required.
But Kavita, with due respect, the problems being pointed out are lack of hygiene, adulterated food, expired food products. You know, these do not require any guidelines. This is basic common sense and, you know, ethical practices that are required.
And these are exactly where I say the cost cutting on certain restaurants that actually take this on, which lands up actually impacting the customer's health. And any wide action along this across the restaurants will dramatically improve not just quality for everybody, but also give those of us who are actually working effectively in the areas of safety and hygiene an even platform to stand on and compete in the market.
Okay. Shriram Khanna, do you take that argument that, you know, some of the laws are archaic, that a shelf should not be so far from the wall, and that is there are certain practices which can end up harassing the restaurateurs or the hotel owners?
There could be some such issues, but that is not the main issue here. What I want to point out is the law is lax. All the lists you have put on the scale here, in Pune, in Bangalore, in Gurugram, in Delhi, in Mumbai, let me assure you, not one person is going to go to jail, because the law does not have a provision for sending people to jail. The law says that if you are caught doing something wrong, we will legal prosecution, and the legal prosecution can be compounded. So you pay a fees. You earn lakhs of rupees adulterating, pay a few thousand, you have seen 21,000 fine on so many, and you still make money. In our language there is a muhavra, bhai bin preet na koi. Nobody is scared of the food laws because they have been liberalized on the pretext of ease of doing business. So that all the entire food business is geared towards making money. They don't care if they have contaminated material, they don't care if you have adulterated material, they don't care if the food is left overnight open. And these are the ways in which the food business is being managed, because they know we are not going to go to jail, we'll pay a few thousand and save ourselves, and that is what they are doing. So what the gentleman has done in Maharashtra is, he's just shown them, this is your mirror, I can't send you to jail.
No, and if one Tukara Munde can do it, it shows that there are laws. If they are properly implemented, the laws themselves are enough to take a lot of corrective action.
Doing a raid is not punishment, it is exposing. But that exposure is for 1 or 2 days. You are not actually able to punish anybody who is doing adulteration.
Okay, let me bring in others. Abhijit Saha is the chef entrepreneur. Abhijit Saha, do you agree with that? That the laws are too weak, that we do not have enough strong laws which would ensure that there is deterrence, that perhaps people should be going to jail for this kind of lapses? Abhijit Saha.
Hi. So it's really unfortunate that, you know, things have unfolded in the way. It's really unfortunate that things have unfolded in the way that it has in the last few months that we have seen. And this is probably the tip of the iceberg. While I agree that some aspects of the law are very lax, I think that we cannot put a blanket on all the entire hospitality or food service industry, where we are talking about some people who are not following these rules, and there are also some who follow these rules and regulations and take a lot of effort. So I myself run a food safety and a hygiene consulting company called Ace Hospitality, and we do a lot of trainings for various organizations, and we set out the standards, whether it is fssai or HSSCP. And there are many establishments that I can tell you of, including the Bangalore airport and my restaurants. We do these things very, very diligently. And of course, there will be some situations, but one bad or rotten apple shouldn't make the rule. While I'm in favor of the customers here, and I myself am a consumer who go to restaurants and hotels to eat, I would definitely like that, food safety standards are followed to the T, and utmost care has to be taken for each and every establishment to make sure that every food that is being served to the customer is safe and hygienic.
But Abhijit, are you welcoming then? Are you welcoming this action by Tukaram Munde?
Food service establishment. So I think it was required, and it has happened for the good. So this has been a wake-up call for everybody. And all of a sudden, being in the news and being highlighted across India and on the national channels and also on social media, this definitely makes people aware, whether it is the consumer or whether you are a restaurateur or you are a chef or you are a food service provider or a caterer, because they are now becoming conscious that there could be certain actions that could be taken, including taking away of the license and shutting of the restaurant or of the business, and this will definitely help in making things better. But it should not be a one-off thing. It should continue as a process and as a system, so that we are able to clean up various other things that we have done in this country and clean up the food service industry in terms of food safety and hygiene standards.
All right, let me bring in Dr. Bagai on that note. Dr. Bagai, when we talk about food poisoning, it's a very common term here in India. But people don't seem to realize this food poisoning is something that can even be lethal. It can actually lead to shutdown of your key organs and even death in certain situations. So this is the starting point. Whether it's talking about, the food, the adulteration, the fact that it's not fresh, or even newer things that we're hearing of, things like analog paneer, which were unheard of earlier, where people, they think that they're consuming paneer, but they also end up consuming all sorts of trans fats along with it. That's surely not ideal or healthy.
So our society at large is going through 3 Ds, going into another 3 Ds. So we are first in denial, then in delusion, and then there is drama. And then ultimately a consumer, which is end point, all of us, undergo disease, disability and death. Make no mistake about it, food adulteration or contamination or inadequate in standardization or quality is affecting our quality of life in terms of health and livability in terms of longevity of life. Let me explain this very quickly to you. We are losing approximately 2 lakh Indians every year because of food contamination. We are losing 5 lakh humans as Indians, of which 40% are children under the age of 5 because of contaminated water, as far as the supply chain is concerned. We have fractured protocols and lack of governance. Unless until we don't do a complete forensic audit, my question is, why are these forensic audits not made public? We die to pay and then we pay to die. This is a completely ironical, ridiculous cycle. The fact is, there are viruses, there are bacteria, there are rodents, the people have found cockroaches, there could be protozoal infection, worm infestation, heavy metal contamination, which has been documented. There is micro nanoplastic. No one wants to talk about it because it's something so convenient just to overlook. The fact is that there are chemical dyes, there are starch, there are cheap oils put. This is affecting what we call as the gut-brain axis, gut-cardiac axis, gut-lung axis, early death, infertility, hypertension, obesity, diabetes, and so on and so forth. 8 or 9 different types of cancers. This is all medically, scientifically published and proven. The fact is, why are we not serious in our food protocols, standards and hygiene? It's our right as a consumer, as a human, as an Indian to ask, what am I eating? Now, where is the genesis of the problem? Very quickly. The genesis of the problem, most of these multinationals are listed companies. Most of the huge 5 stars are listed companies. Is the end customer really important for them? Then make the audit report public. All hotels are supplying us information that AQI inside, PM 2.5 inside is less than 15, WHO standard is XYZ. Why is the audit report not made public? I want to know what I'm eating. I don't want to die early. We pay thousands of rupees per dish in a good restaurant or a 5-star.
Right. Absolutely.
We want to know what we are eating. We want assurance that the quality is clean. We want to be assured that there is no contamination and no adulteration.
Absolutely.
Small children are being affected, Madhav, and going forward, these are going to be sicker adolescents and sicker young adults.
Absolutely.
That's unfair, unacceptable. extremely bad.
Completely agree. And in fact, the WHO statistics say that unsafe food kills 1.5 million people and sickens 866 million every year globally. If you add to that the statistics that Dr. Bagai has just shared with us, if we bring in Arun Annadurai, it's high time that we start taking our food very seriously, Arun Annadurai. It's one thing, but when you go out, if, as he rightly said, in Delhi, in several of our polluted cities, you can see the AQI. But you don't know what is the quality of the food that you're getting, whether the oil is adulterated, what is the kind of oil you're getting, whether it has been reused, whether the items being used have been freshly sourced or they are stale. Just look at the Bangalore 5-star hotels, for instance. So much of rotting meat, of rotting, pulses, etc. that have been found there.
100%, sir. According to me, sir, food safety cannot be judged by how the kitchen looks. It depends on how the food travels to the kitchen. So, in a very simple way, sir, coming from a hotel profession, I need to tell this to every hoteliers, every chefs, every restaurant owners, forget law, forget FSSI, forget inspections. Just keep one thing in mind. When your food goes out of the kitchen, and if your own child is sitting, just you have to think that your own child is sitting in this table. And if you can serve that food, and if you have that guts to serve that food to your own child, then you can serve it proudly. If the answer is no, then that another child also doesn't deserve it. So basically, according to me, more than law, more than everything, humanity plays a bigger role here, sir. Whoever is into food business should understand that this is a very noble business, and humanity should be at its peak while serving food. And while you have humanity, you will earn money. People will come to you, you will earn money. A taste of a food can earn a customer for today, but the trust can make the customer for lifetime. That's a very simple funda, according to me. Because someone sitting... But
that trust has been broken today. That is the whole point. Today that trust is shattered. People are wondering whether we should eat out at all.
100%. I completely agree. This again has to be rethinked by every hotel owners, every chefs, every professionals. They should bring team to it. They should simply think they are serving their own 5-star hotel. It can be anything. They should think the person sitting in table number 8 can be somebody's father, can be someone's mother, or the child can be someone's whole world. So they should see, according to me, food safety should not come in with the fear of inspections. It should come with humanity.
It should come with humanity. That's an ideal situation. Yeah. That's an ideal situation describing. And let me bring in fact, on that note, Pradeep Tiwari, we've seen so many viral videos over the last few days. Many are questioning that these viral videos have come out on social media. They've caused so much of, controversy. But for each viral video, how many 1,000 times adulteration would have happened, contamination would have happened, insects would have crawled in, worms would have crawled in the food. We don't even know how many cases have gone undetected.
I personally feel that just on the basis of few incidents, rather I can say those incidents, incidents which have been exposed these days, we can't really question the entire industry. There are companies. 3,000
raids, they are not few, in just Maharashtra alone. I don't think you should say few incidents. I think from Gurugram to Bengaluru to across India, sir, we cannot say there are few incidents. There are several thousand raids that have taken place. So many licenses have been cancelled. The point is that what is the food industry going to do to rebuild the trust of the consumer who's completely shattered? What will happen? Restaurants like yourselves, if people stop walking in and eating, what will happen to your livelihood? So it's incumbent on the restaurant industry to come out and make it clear what they're going to do to change.
See, for us, I think, the most of the companies who are into the food business, it is not only the business responsibility, I feel it is the trust of the industry with the customer. So, see, there is a complete chain involved into this, start from the manufacturing to supply chain to storage, and being as a restaurant, since we are the final one who are serving the food to the customer, so our responsibility lies much more than the others. So
All right. So the responsibility lies with all. But let me bring in Dr. Avinath Mishra. Please come forward. And you have brought this entire kit. I mean, this is just for the information of all our viewers. Because can you really check at home what is the kind of quality of paneer? Because this is very serious. Just 1 or 2 products. What are we going to be testing here, Dr. Mishra? You are a forensic expert.
Yes,
what can the Aam Aadmi? First of all, can an Aam Aadmi check this at home whether the paneer is getting as pure or not?
Kit based. Yes, this is kit based. And first thing, that is by physical observation, by testing, by checking the color of such type of things, okay? And adulteration, what happened? Adulteration is intentional crime. Because here people not, manufacturer not thinking that who is the target. You can say that is the public. Here target public, but in the case of crime, there is a targeted people. So adulteration is a crime. Okay, when we are saying about contamination, so contamination due to carelessness, not proper protection, not covering up the things.
Or even using expired products intentionally to save money, as some were saying. But just very quickly, when you talk about milk products like paneer, at what level does the contamination happen? At the level of production of paneer, or is the milk itself diluted with soya bean oil, with all sorts of other contaminants?
Because maybe artificial synthetic milk, maybe azure dye used, synthetic color used, or cheap fat used. So there are different tests. So we can go for the testing only for the preliminary examination, okay, and we can get idea, okay, at home.
Okay. So show us very quickly, how can you do this? Just show us the test. What is the first test that you are doing? This is of paneer once again?
Yes, paneer product from local market.
You've taken a small piece and you're going to put it into a test tube.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Now what will you add to this?
Now after paneer, I am going to use 1 drop of water, 1 ml around.
Okay.
This is distilled water. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And what do you further add to this?
After water, there is a reagent, okay, that is prepared for the kit purpose, okay. Then generally we are using iodine solution, okay. So just we are using, okay.
So that is one.
Yes, reagent 2, okay.
Okay.
We are using 2 to 3 drops of reagent.
And what will happen if it's adulterated? What is the reaction you will see?
If adulterated, so it will show blue color. Okay. And you can.
So it's white in color right now.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And how long will it take to react? A few minutes? And in fact, let me get our viewers into some of the other aspects that we're talking about. Let's also look at why this is important. It's not just about the kind of raids that have happened, what has been found so far. What really is it that we're looking at in terms of the FSSAI itself? This is section 53, which provides for up to 10 lakh penalty for misleading ads, for instance. The FDI crackdown has taken place on surrogate ads. Show cause has been issued to certain actors for use of, pan masalas, gutkas, etc. Misleading ads is what we are told is promotion of these particular items, and this is the kind of penalty that can be possibly taken in case of such situations. Let's quickly bring in the next aspect that we're talking about. We're talking about the FDA says this Vimal ad is amounting to surrogate advertising. Stop endorsing this advertisement is the advice being given to actors. Remove the ad from all social media. Submit the written explanation in 15 days is also the charge being given. Prove that Vimal Elaichi is an independent product and not something linked to the other pan masalas or gutkas. Produce endorsement and payment details is also what FDA has told to the actors as well. Now this is very important. While, Shriram Khanna, nobody's going to endorse the use of tobacco products, alcohol products, etc. Their impact on health is all very well known. But the point being made is, is this a little bit of an overreach as far as the FDA is concerned? And the reason I'm asking you this, that we've seen surrogate advertising across industries, across sectors in the past. Is this something that the legal mandate is there with Mr. Munde and his organization to do?
See, the law is clear. If there is a misleading ad, and if somebody is endorsing a product and puffing up misleading claims, he is a party to it. But you have mentioned 10 lakh. Can you please ask anybody who has been fined 10 lakhs till date? Since the day this law came and till date, has anybody been subjected to a fine of rupees 10 lakhs? It is only there in the books. And even if there is a fine imposed, has that company or the person paid the fine? Do you have a mechanism to ensure that fines which are imposed are actually paid? If you will go through the bulk of the cases, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, People are laughing all the way to the bank. कि भाई फाइन लगाओ, पैसे लो और हम जा रहे हैं अपना काम करने.
Is that,
and they will repeat the damn thing again.
Is that what is happening? That's a very important point. Kavita Manta, is that what's really happening? That the fines themselves have become a joke, says Mr. Sriram, because the fines themselves are not a deterrent.
I actually disagree, and one of the biggest advantages of all the commotion that we've actually come across is the fact that the consumer is getting more conscious of what they're doing. Until the consumer starts asking the right questions when they go in and engage with food, the system will not change. When you realize as a restaurateur that to be able to serve your customer better, you need to have better answers, you need to have better hygiene. Restaurants are moving into open kitchens, restaurants are moving into actually having videos of their kitchens available. The more these norms come in, the more customers ask for, regardless of whether a fine is issued or not, the consumer momentum will move, and with that, hygiene will definitely improve. I would also like to say that this entire food safety issue is at several levels. There, of course, is the moment it meets the customer at a restaurant where we talk about hygiene and food safety and contamination, etc. But we have to look at the fact that there are currently improper laws in terms of the usage of ingredients, the food that is allowed. Why was analogous paneer even allowed to be sold publicly? Even us restaurateurs actually didn't get to find out about it until very recently. How are these foods getting FSSAI permission to actually be sold on public platforms? So I think we need to look at the second level of what is being manufactured and what is being publicly sold.
Okay.
We then need to start looking at the source of food. You know, when you're talking about contamination of the food that comes into the restaurant. Why do stores like supermarkets sell chopped vegetables? They sell chopped vegetables because they've taken vegetables that are spoiling, cut out the spoilage and have kept the rest of it. Now, for a lot of us young adults who are actually going out and working all day, you think it's convenience. It's not convenience, it's actually extending the produce shelf life and making it viable. So there are several levels at which this issue penetrates, all the way from how your food is being grown to how it meets you, and the only way standards will raise is if consumers demand more. And I agree that fines may have been paid or may not have been paid and may not be the prime driver, but once the consumer actually asks for more and your public image is dependent on, you know, the consumer walking in is dependent on your public image, which is definitely impacted by this, you will see a dramatic change coming through. We are already seeing that. We've seen this started in Hyderabad a few months back, and we've seen the dramatic change that has happened in the organized sector for restaurants that actually have a reputation, which have come under the scanner, which have gone the whole spectrum of actually changing from being a very poorly audited kitchen to now an open kitchen which has visuals on play for the consumers.
No, I agree with you. There are some positives. For instance, vada pav is not sold on newspapers, which is a very clear wrong. I don't know why it's happened for so long, but you know, Shikha, I'd like you to come in on this, because I think she has one point when she says that somewhere or the other the approach is something which is problematic. You know, this is Mr. Pradeep Chakravarti, who's a former director of the FSSAI. He has said it is not delivery platforms, but the suppliers, which is the delivery boys, who should be responsible for health issues. If this is a person who has headed FSSAI, I shudder to think what people down the line are doing.
See, that's what I'm saying, that ultimately catching a few people, penalizing a few people will not solve the issue. It has to be done in a very structured way. Like, for example, when you go to a place, there is a reviews and everything. So FSSAI has to come up with a structure where every restaurant is reviewed and those reviews are collected, or their safety inspections are also weighted against it, so that there is a transparent system. Now, until there is a transparent system which is technology oriented, where people can simply scan and upload a review and say this was what I found, and then collate the data,
right,
that will make a structural change. Because in a country of 140 crore people, you know, one fine here, one fine there, one raid here, one raid there is not really going to change the structure of food safety in India. And eating hygienic food is a fundamental right for us.
Absolutely, and that should be a fundamental right, no doubt about that. Pradeep Tiwari, what can be done? What is the standardized system of reporting? As she says, why cannot all be made public? Raids happen on a regular basis, the data put out there. Why should we not have such a transparent system in India?
See, there is a very proper guideline provided by the department. They keep monitoring the things on a very regular basis. So yes, more strict norms required to do, more checks required to do on a very, very regular basis. And but I feel that just on few personal reviews and statement, the restaurant should not be questioned.
No, but this is a larger question. She has asked a very valid question. Why is in India analog paneer even allowed in the first place? What is FSSAI? What are the FDAs doing? Why is this form of fake paneer, which allows for some adulteration into milk, and we'll know from this result how much of this that we have here in the studio is actually fake and how much is real? Why was it allowed in the first place? That means the regulators are all sleeping.
That I think we got to know, very recently that, the paneer which is selling very frequently in the local market is not up to the mark which we are like eating on a regular basis.
And it's not only paneer. Sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting. It's ghee, it's oil, it's milk, it's meat. Everything appears to be adulterated in this country. Dr. Bagay.
So, speaking medico-legally, it becomes very difficult for a customer, and legally even more difficult to prove that this particular food item at lunchtime in this restaurant has caused my illness. The reason is the law cannot define it. Whether you ate something wrong at breakfast, unknown. Whether you ate something immediately after lunch, unknown. Or the manifestation may come the next day. Because very often the manifestations clinically come a day later or 12 hours later. So there is a loophole. The restaurants get away very easily with it. The hotels can get away very easily with it. Imagine what the situation is of the street vendors. That's completely Ram Bharose.
Yeah.
You cannot afford to eat that kind of food. Imagine what's happening in home kitchens. In resident welfare associations, people are running kitchens, bakeries, all kinds of culinary things, and they're selling it in cash. Forget the GST loss. The fact is, we need more stricter rules. 50,000, 1 lakh is pittance as a penalty, because they know, one, the fine is never going to be paid. Two, there are more than 5.5 crore cases pending in the courts. By the time this comes, either the restaurant will anyway shut off, or the consumer would have gone.
Or Mr. Sriram's point, even if he pays the fine, he's made crores.
Yeah,
what is 1 lakh rupees for it?
It's going to take 10 years, 12 years, 15 years. There are cases over decades pending. We need stricter laws. We need harsher punishments. But we need the results known to the customer. As a consumer, I want to know where I'm going, what's the quality and standard, and what are the safeguards. If I don't know it, then I'm in a dubious position.
Absolutely. And Abhijit, do you agree with that? Need for stricter norms, need for stricter penalties. This 1 lakh or 5 lakh fines are not going to take us anywhere.
Sure, I do agree with that. But if we talk about only penalties, fines, etc., that is one way of doing it. The second way is addressing it in a manner which is technical as well as ethical. So from my side, the way I look at it as a food safety and hygiene trainer myself, the way that I look at it is that training is of utmost importance. And making people conscious who are working in the kitchens, who are working in the food service industry, who are working in the food service manufacturing industry, they must become conscious about these things, because they are also ultimately the consumer. So I don't think that only punishment is the way out. Yes, definitely punishments are very critical and important, but at the same time, it is how you educate the whole system. And I agree that when consumers want to make a change, that can be a big force. So one thing that we need from the industry side is a commitment where they decide to go forward and make these changes consciously, through training, through education, through being ethical.
Absolutely.
And then there is the consumer who makes this happen by demanding transparency about everything that is happening in the food service industry and food and beverage industry.
No, and obviously if these licenses are being cancelled, they're following a certain procedure. No, if the licenses are being cancelled, it's after they're following a certain procedure, after they found a certain level of lapses. And if this training had to happen, the industry should have been doing this for the last several years. Otherwise, why do they have trained professionals? Why do they have catering schools? If people, who have gone through F&B training are still doing this, then that raises serious questions about the kind of quality of training that we have in this country.
I do agree with you. And it is, one thing is to train, one thing is to implement. So these are two different things. So once the training is completed, The implementation is in the hands of the food service establishment.
Okay.
And that is where ethics and strict rules and regulations come into practice.
Okay.
So also we are talking about, there are technical aspects of maintaining and step-by-step process which is defined. And if that is clearly taken care of, then we obviously will find some results somewhere down the line.
All right. Let me quickly now go across to Dr. Mishra. Dr. Mishra, I believe you have done some of these tests. How many of these tests are positive? How many are negative? What have you found?
Actually, this is the first test. Okay.
This is paneer?
Yeah.
And what have you added to this?
There is a prepared reagents, okay, in the kit. So what happened, it is not fully dissolved. So it's showing that there is a use of synthetic milk or other filler.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you notice that? Because it is not completely dissolved.
Yes.
And you can see those patterns there. Okay. The solid pieces.
Yes.
Okay.
So this is one test.
Okay.
One test is showing that using of any dye or any preservatives. Okay.
It has tested positive for that.
Yeah. No. This is negative.
This is negative.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one for the cheap fat or other filler. Okay. So it is also not positive.
This is also negative.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So all the three tests you have done is negative.
Yes. So only finding in this product that some filler used to increase the weight of that content. Okay.
Yes. What are the other tests that can be done? When you have products such as these, milk products such as these, what are the other tests that people can do?
Other tests, easily we can go for chemical test only. There are different chemical tests for different food products. Okay.
So people are popularly using iodine, as you said.
Iodine, that is also...
People are carrying iodine and breaking off paneer in restaurants and pouring it on that.
And there are also other things about chemical testing, and also we go for the further instrumentation if required.
Okay, so these are some of the things that can very easily be done, and this is what Aam Aadmi, there are testing kits that are easily available commercially as well. Let's quickly look at the next set of talking points, because there's a lot of points that I'd like to cover. We have limited time. Now this is of course as far as why this crackdown is needed in India, a country of 140 crore people, as in fact Shikha was just saying. The Indian food service market is about 7 to 10 lakh crore. That is the kind of volume we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen. Huge amount of economic activity happening over here. Let's quickly also talk about the growth. It's growing at a CAGR of 10 to 11%. Again, massive growth. It prevents, of course, food poisoning and disease outbreaks that, of course, are very important. Curbs use of expired, rotten ingredients. Why a crackdown is needed. Also enforces hygiene standards in kitchens as well. Of course, very important. We've been discussing that. Builds public trust. The biggest thing missing at this point of time in food outlets. Debtors, repeated violators, ensures accountability as far as our system is concerned. So very many reasons why this crackdown is required, and perhaps Tukaram Munde, of course, his own crackdown model, which is high visibility, public inspections across major cities, which has been seen. It has targeted big brands, not just the small vendors. Again, something that was not seen in the past. Suspends licenses, seizes crores in unsafe food, which we've already discussed. Notices were issued to celebrity endorsers as well. And I think that's where things have been very different. Zero tolerance policy, no political favoritism or interference in such a matter. Again, very, very important. Why should there be any favoritism for those who are adulterating food in the first place is a big question. Now, clearly, what can FDA do in terms of shutting down these eateries? What does the law say? This is FSSAI Act Section 32. The officer must issue an improvement notice. This is, of course, the first phase. Then, of course, you can state the flaws, suggest ways for improvement as well. They can further go on to give at least 14 days to the eatery to comply with what is required. Non-compliance then risks license suspension. In a situation like this, an aggrieved can then appeal to the FDA commissioner as well, and in that slight action can be taken. The license can then be suspended in public interest. So there is a set procedure as far as the license suspension is concerned. And let me quickly take this across to our panelists from outside. Arun Annadurai, if 14 days have been given, a restaurant has still not improved, and then a license is cancelled, surely this is not bureaucratic overreach, but extremely lax behavior on part of a restaurant or a hotel concern.
Yeah, this is pure carelessness and taking customers for granted, sir. So I need to add to the point I spoke previously. Everyone in India feel that the safest food in the world is mother cooked food, right, sir? But our mother doesn't have FSSAI license. Why we feel our mother's food is safe? Because every time she cooks food, she feels that she's cooking for a child. if every kitchen professional and every hoteliers, every hotel owners be in the same mindset of every Indian mother, there is the problem. Bacteria doesn't know whether this food is 100 rupees or 1,000 rupees. They only see for favorable conditions. So there are some technical aspects to it. It depends. There are some 3 invisible risks that goes along with food safety. One is time, one is temperature, and one is cross-contamination. Example, you were speaking about paneer. A very simple thing which I can tell you is, if you are using a knife to cut your raw meat, and in the same, your kitchen may look sparkly clean, but if you're using a knife that is used to cut your raw meat, and the same knife, if it is used to cut your paneer, there will be contamination.
Of course.
So food safety depends on systems. It doesn't depend on assumptions. So it's a very basic responsibility of everyone in this industry, in this food industry, to consider that this is a very noble profession, and even a glass of water which is served to every customer should have an humanity attached to it.
All right. Shriram Khanna, 14 days given to restaurants before the license is suspended. Are you still saying the law is 2 lakhs?
There is an adequate opportunity to make amends, to improve the systems, and to remove the non-compliance. There are professionals available. If your own staff can't do it, bring somebody from outside and get it done. But I agree with the point made that if consumers start asking the right questions, and the managements of food establishments, food businesses are showing what's happening inside their processes, and people can see that it's a clean kitchen, it's a clean food business, and they're using, and also I want to say that the kind of testing that you have just shown here is not for every family to do. You need somebody with expertise in food chemistry, you need to get the reagents, you need to have the test tubes.
No, but these are kits which are commercially available.
No, you're right. But will your wife be able to do this at home? You tell me.
Why not? It's just mixing up.
Has she ever done it till today? Aaj tak kara hai kya?
Will you do it every day is a question,
No,
but you can do it if you want.
What I'm saying is, consumers have their own way of finding out what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. You buy paneer from one place, number of days, and there are other people buying, and suddenly somebody says there is something wrong with it.
Safest thing
and
is to make paneer at home.
Everybody
But sir, you can't start blaming the consumer. What is the poor consumer's fault? He is the one who has to eat all of this, fall sick also, spend money also.
No, but the consumer has also a duty to patronize an establishment that has good ethics.
So who's listening to the consumer? Until Tukaram Munde, nobody is listening to the consumer. Neither the netas, nor the babus, nor the restaurant, nor the courts, unfortunately.
See,
that's the sad state of affairs.
If you ask me, I feel most comfortable with the paneer that is made in my own kitchen.
That is ultimately the only solution.
Yeah.
You know, make paneer, make everything at home. Don't go outside, have a barbecue at home if you want barbecued food. And you know, the end of the day, you're completely out of time. Many things that have come out of this debate. Lots more points that actually we had to debate, but completely out of time. Dr. Sanjeev Bagai, Dr. Shikha Sharma, Shriram Khanna, Amarnath Mishra, Pradeep Tiwari, Abhijit Saha, Arun Anandurai, and Kavita Manto. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us on this edition of the National Debate.
Powered by Century Ply Total.
No matter what your day throws at you, stay in the spa state of mind with the Cola Spa at home.